This is the PL-89 Gematriatic Quantum Thought Calendar for Friday, November 28th, 2025, which is the 6th day of the week, the 8th day of Kislev. The year 5786. The Parsha, the Torah portion of the week is Vayetze. And today's Daf and Daf Yomi is Zevachim 75, page 75, which is in fact the 74th actual physical page, although it's page number 75 because the Babylonian Talmud starts on page 2. Every tractate starts on page 2. So, this is the Gematriatic Quantum Thought Calendar. It's a redemption calendar. It's a calendar of the Mashiach times. It's a calendar of Gematria, and it ties in many messianic end-time concepts, like the sun and the moon, Yaakov and Esav, Chaim, paradox, things like that. And this is actually jumping ahead, but next week is actually something very significant in this calendar, is the meeting of Yaakov and Esav. That's next week's Torah portion. This is Yaakov is having his dream, and Yaakov is meeting Rachel, Rachel, and Leah, and Lavan, and that whole story of him having children. The 12 tribes, 11 of the 12 tribes are born in this week's Torah portion, and this is meant to bring it all together. It's like I had so many different uses at different times, but it's basically, I've explained it before, as a theory of everything that is presented in calendar form, and many things about it are actually, everything about it is derived from passages in the Bible, in the Torah, specifically from Leviticus chapter 25, which deals with the sabbatical year, which itself, that parsha of Bahar, and Bechukotai, but Bahar mainly has more, the word redemption, Goel, more than any other Torah portion. In fact, this is based on the word Goel. Goel is Gimel, Vav, Aleph, Lamed is equal to 40 in Gematria, and this calendar is structured on 40. So today on the calendar, we are, today's, let's say, what is it, November 28th? Okay, so then on the sun, meaning the solar, we have box number 38. Okay, 38, and the coordinates are D4, so 38, and 38, the idea was, what's 38 about today? 38, I don't know if, the more you know about 38, the more you can connect it with something today, but off the top of my head, 78, because plus 40. 78 is anything? 118? Okay, this doesn't really have to do with necessarily today, but something I remember that was 118. It could be anything. But I remember that in Parshas Ve'eschanan, back in the summer, in the Chumashes, and if anyone is familiar with this, please reach out. I'm very, very curious to hear about this. I've seen it in all the Chumash, and at the back of at the end of the Parsha, you can see how many verses are in that Torah portion. And so it says the Minyan, the Psukim for this Parsha. So in the Chumash, it's printed 118 verses. And that happened to me, unfortunately. It was kind of embarrassing because I had read somewhere that it's actually 122 verses, and I was at someone's table, and I developed a Gematria and a Devar Torah based on 122. And guess what? Someone at the table, most people don't count it, and I usually get by real easy. I just say the thing, and people just take what I say face value. I check it a lot, but in this case, it looked like I was wrong because the guy said, and if you're out there listening to this, you'll know what I'm talking about. You might remember it was Shabbos Nachamu. I think it was August. Was it August? No, it was July 15th. 15th maybe? No, that's too early. It was late summer of in 20. No, it was summer, midsummer 2021. That was an early year. Yeah, everything was early that year, so it was probably like in July something. No, it was the 15th day of Av. It was Tu B'Av, but that year Tu B'Av came out in July. If it's an early year, then Tu B'Av comes in July. It was Tu B'Av, Parshas V'Eschanan. It was on Shabbat, and cut to 4 years later. Okay, so I'm at the table and I see Devar Torah based on. I said, if you look at the back of I'm sitting there right now. I'm saying it. If you look at the back of the Chumash, you can see that there's 122 verses, and so someone at the table said, "I thought it was 118." And I said, "Really?" I went from a different source. I went to a computer source that actually names the parsha in the verses, and he said, "No, let's look." So we got a Chumash, we brought it out, and I looked at the Chumash, and it was so embarrassing. It's like it says 118, like he said. So I'm like, oh no, what do I do now? I'm totally, busted, and it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. And so then, cut to 4 years later, this year, 2025. Guess what? Shabbos Nachamu is also on a Shabbat. I mean, Eschanan and Tu B'Av, what I mean is Tu B'Av this year in 2025 was also on a Shabbos, which connects to this calendar, by the way. 21 and 25 are the same in many ways, so it's interesting. It parallels that. And so, you know what? I was invited to someone's house this year, and I'm not actually in Israel now, and in Jerusalem, and I'm invited to someone's house, and I'm in the shul there, and I'm waiting, until they finish. I had finished early, and I came during late, yeah. So I said, you know what? I remembered, it was Tu B'Av 4 years ago, and I remember saying at the table that it was 122 verses, and he corrected me and he said it was 118, and we looked in the Chumash and it said 118. I said, you know what? Just for kicks, let's count them. I want to make sure that it's always right, and I counted each verse. It's very easy to count it. You don't have to go verse. You just have to look at the total number of verses in the chapters. Look at the last one, each chapter, and add them all together. And if it's a broken chapter, just add those verses. I did that. And guess what? It was 122 verses. It took 4 years, maybe one for each point, because 118 plus 4 is 122. But 4 years later, I looked at it and I said, if you want to count it, Parshas V'Eschanan is 122 verses. And you know what? I may not be the only one who found this mistake. Back then, I just looked at the Chumash, and whatever the Chumash says, you trust it. Now I always count it, because the Chumash is not always right. But you know something? If someone would point this out, there's another thing like this. Someone would point this out, they wouldn't change it. They wouldn't change it now. What's printed is printed. Even if it's a mistake and you show all the Chumashes and you all count it together, nope. It's just not, they're not going to do it. So I have my own reasons why it's not 122. I did, but it's for a different time. But the fact of the matter is, it's 122 verses exactly. I counted it a few times, and it's printed 118. And so if you're out there, you know who you are. If you're hearing this, you want to count Parshas V'Eschanan, count it. You'll see it's 122. I counted a few times. So that's an ongoing mystery. But how did I get here? I got here through the Gematria Quantum Thought calendar because what I did was I did 38, 78, 118, and then 118 took me to that number, to 2021. That whole thing was just for the solar calendar. Now I have to. So we're running short on time here. So the lunar calendar, it's the 8th day of Kislev. 8th day of Kislev in this dispensation, that's another topic, but is 3. 3, right? So I have something very simple right away I'm seeing. 3, by the rule of 40, is now 43, right? But 43, I can stop right there. I don't have to go any further. 43 is an ordinal gematria value. Now, most people do just regular gematria, where Aleph is 1, Beis is 2, and then Yud is 10, and then it goes by tens, and then when it gets to kuf, it goes by hundreds. That's by far the most common. But there's another gematria system called Mispar Siduri, which is where you just count aleph through taf. It's like 1 through 22. It's ordinal. You don't go by tens and hundreds. You just count it as if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up until 22. And there's some amazing results with that. I mean, it's not a well-known thing, but the results are undeniable. It's like it should be a thing. It's just gematrias aren't really studied that much. So, but anyway, so in Mispar Seder, Ruvain equals 43. He's a Bechor. I mean, he kind of ruined it a little bit, unfortunately, but Ruvain is equal to Cain, is also Bechor, Cain Hevel, which is also to Esav, who was a Bechor. They're all 43. And that's an ordinal. It's not regular. Ruvain is 259 in regular gematria. Cain would be 160. Esav is 376. But in ordinal, 43. So anyway, that's a topic for another time. But anyway, this week's Parsha, Ruvain has a very pronounced thing with the Dudaim. The Dudaim, the flowers, sometimes translated as mandrakes. Why is it that Ruvain was taking the flowers and it was for Leah, and this whole transaction that Rachel sort of sold her night with her husband to Leah for these mandrakes. And it's a very mysterious story. It's like, what's that all about? We don't have a lot of, at least I haven't heard so much in depth. But of course, like anything else in Torah, it's very deep. But anyway, that's this week's Torah portion, and Ruvain is equal to 43, so it came right to mind. Ruvain was a Bechor. Sometimes, in this kind of study, the Bechor is a little bit, he's creative, but he's kind of like the goofball. I mean, I don't need to say it like that. It doesn't sound nice, but he's a little bit off. The Bechor is like, for example, like Cain was off. He was a goofball is how I call it. But basically, he had he was the creative one. This Torah I got from Ariel Cohen Laurel, by the way. He was the creative one. He was innovative. He did the sacrifice. No one thought of a sacrifice before him. But then his younger brother, Hevel, took it and refined it, and he did it in a better way. He brought the sacrifice with the animal, and that was accepted by God. But still, Cain had the initiative. He's the one who first had the idea. But he, unfortunately, he kind of goofed up. I mean, big time. He killed his brother because of it. And so the same thing with Esav. Esav was the firstborn, and Isaac saw in him much more. He was much higher, more capable than Jacob. He had much higher talents and abilities, but he took it to the wrong side. There was a breaking of the vessel, unfortunately. Same thing with Ruvain. That's what happened too. There was a breaking of the vessel. There, he's the firstborn, but there was some confusion there. So I mean, he had this initiative. He was the one who picked the flowers, right? He picked the flowers, and because of him, indirectly, Yisachar was born. Yisachar is the one who's learning Torah. The creativity and knowledge of Torah. Maybe that's a refinement. That's a tikkun for this kind of not wayward, but usually the creative types are a little bit off. Gotta say, and anyway, that's the thing for there. But see, that's how this calendar should work. It's basically that was okay.